Hey there, YouTube. It's Pack Fiend here, and today I'm going to be doing another EDH deck tech. This one's going to be on one of my favorite commanders, and one that I've had built for one of the longest times, which is going to be Varina, Lich Queen. If you haven't already, please hit the subscribe button. I'm almost to 100 subscribers, and I'm probably going to do some kind of giveaway when I get to 100 as well. And I'll be doing some box openings of some new sets coming up. So what Varina does is she is 1 colorless mana and Esper color, so white, blue, black. She's 4 mana for a 4/4 legendary creature zombie wizard. She has 2 really good abilities. Whenever you attack with 1 or more zombies, you draw that many cards, then discard that many cards, and you gain that much life. And then she also has an ability of pay 2 colorless mana, exile 2 cards from your graveyard, and you get to create a tapped 2/2 black zombie creature token. So that first ability is very, very good. You get to attack say if you attack with 3 zombies, you draw 3 cards, discard 3 cards, and gain 3 life. And then you can make some zombie tokens. Just be careful that they are tapped. A lot of the newer cards that make zombie tokens make them tapped. So just be wary of that you can't block with them. Some older cards, or even some newer ones, put them into play untapped, and then some put them into play tapped. So obviously we're going to have a lot of zombies in the deck, and a bunch of combos as well. Some infinite combos where you can really kill your opponents, or just kill them with combat damage. So first up, we're going to have Gravecrawler. He has 1 mana for a 2/1 zombie, and sorry about this one, but this one is signed. There's also a lot of special cards in this deck too. So Gravecrawler can't block, and you may cast Gravecrawler from your graveyard as long as you control another zombie. So Gravecrawler is part of a lot of the combos in the deck. Gravecrawler plus Phrexian Alter plus a zombie that has a drain ability on it goes infinite, where you can drain out all of your opponents. So that's a pretty cool combo, and there's a lot of different ways to get that. Also, this combos really well with things like Rooftop Storm, and other abilities and effects like that. Next up, we have Changeling Outcast, which is 1 mana for a 1/1 shapeshifter changeling. That means it is all creature types, so it is a zombie, and then it can't block and it can't be blocked. So this is good because this is a 1 mana 1/1 zombie that always deals damage. So with Varina out, you can attack into anybody with this, get your damage in, plus get your Varina triggers. We also have Crypt Breaker, 1 mana for a 1/1 zombie once again. Pay 2 mana, tap, discard a card, put a 2/2 black zombie creature token onto the battlefield, and then you can also tap 3 untapped zombies you control, and you draw a card and you lose 1 life. Obviously, Crypt Breaker is one of the best zombies, and it's a 1-drop, so you can get it out early. You can start attacking with it to get your Varina triggers, everything like that. Next up, we have Undead Auger. It's 2 mana for a 2/2. When Undead Auger or another zombie you control dies, you draw a card and lose 1 life. We also have Corpse Knight. This is 2 mana for, actually it is a 2/2. I have the like a pre-release version of it that was printed with the wrong toughness. It is not a 2/3, it is supposed to be a 2/2. This one's worth a tiny bit more money because of that. And this one reads, whenever another creature enters the battlefield under your control, each opponent loses 1 life. Next up is Wayward Servant, which is 2 mana for a 2/2. Whenever another zombie enters the battlefield under your control, each opponent loses 1 life and you gain 1 life. We also have Shepherd of Rot, which is 2 mana for a 1/1, and you tap it. Each player loses 1 life for each zombie in play. And also notice that this one says each zombie in play. This had the old templating where it included your opponent's creatures, so if your opponents do happen to have any zombies out, those also count towards Shepherd of Rot. We also have Graveyard Marshal. It's 2 mana for a 3/2 with an ability of pay 3 mana, exile a creature card from your graveyard, and you create a tapped 2/2 zombie token. We also have Lazotep Chancellor. It's 2 mana for a 1/3. Whenever you discard a card, you may pay 1 mana. If you do, you amass 2, which means you put a 0/0 zombie army token onto the battlefield, and then put 2 1/1 counters on it. But if you already control a zombie army, then you just put 2 1/1 counters on that zombie army. So this is really good with Varina because Varina causes you to discard cards. And then obviously this is also good with Varina because it makes more zombie tokens. It is a zombie itself, which triggers her, makes more zombies, makes zombies bigger. We also have Relentless Dead. It's 2 mana for a 2/2 menace. When Relentless Dead dies, you may pay 1 black mana. If you do, you return it to its owner's hand. And then also, when Relentless Dead dies, you may pay X colorless. If you do, you return another target zombie creature card with converted mana cost X from your graveyard to the battlefield. Next up, we're going to start having the Lords coming up. So first we have Cemetery Reaper, which is 3 mana for a 2/2. Other zombie creatures you control get +1/+1. And pay 3 mana, tap it, exile target creature card from a graveyard, put a 2/2 black zombie token onto the battlefield. And note that this one says any graveyard, not just yours, so you can use this to hose your opponent's graveyards. If they're trying to reanimate something, you can exile it, give yourself a zombie token. We have Lord of the Accursed, 3 mana for a 2/3. Other zombies you control get +1/+1, and you can pay 2 mana, tap it, and all zombies gain menace until end of turn. We also have one of my personal favorite cards here, Lord of the Undead, 3 mana for a 2/2. Other zombies get +1/+1, and you can pay 2 mana, tap it, return target zombie card from your graveyard to your hand. Diregraph Captain, 3 mana for a 2/2 Death Touch. Other zombies you control get +1/+1, and whenever another zombie you control dies, target opponent loses 1 life. And lastly, we have Death Baron, 3 mana for a 2/2. Skeleton creatures you control and other zombie creatures you control get +1/+1 and have Death Touch. Next up, we have Gleaming Overseer, which is 3 mana for a 1/4. When it enters the battlefield, you amass 1, and then also zombie tokens you control have Hexproof and Menace. We also have Vizier of the Scorpion, which is 3 mana for a 1/1. When it enters the battlefield, you amass 1, and then also zombie tokens you control have Death Touch. We also have Diregraph Colossus, which is 3 mana for a 2/2. When he enters the battlefield with a 1/1 counter on it for each zombie card in your graveyard, and whenever you cast a zombie spell, you also get to put a 2/2 black zombie creature token onto the battlefield tapped. This is a very, very good card. It comes in and it can be pretty huge if you have some zombies in your graveyard already. And then every zombie spell you cast just comes with an extra 2/2 token. Next up is Plague Belcher, which is 3 mana for a 5/4 menace. He enters the battlefield, you put 2 -1/-1 counters on a target creature you control. And whenever another zombie you control dies, each opponent loses 1 life. Next up is Midnight Reaper, which is 3 mana for a 3/2. Whenever a non-token creature you control dies, Midnight Reaper deals 1 damage to you and you draw a card. Notice that that one does say non-token, so it doesn't count for your zombie tokens, but any of your other regular creatures, whenever they die, you draw a card, lose a life. Next up is Flashback Marauder, which is 3 mana for a 3/1. When it enters the battlefield, each player sacrifices a creature. Murderous Rider, just 3 mana for a 2/3 lifelink. When Murderous Rider dies, you get to put it on the bottom of your deck. And then also it is a Swift End, which is a instant over here for 3 mana. Destroy target creature or planeswalker, you lose 2 life. We also have Acererak the Archlich, which is 3 mana for a 5/5. When he enters the battlefield, if you haven't completed Tomb of Annihilation, return him to your owner's hand and then venture into the dungeon. And whenever he attacks, for each opponent, you create a 2/2 black zombie creature token unless that player sacrifices a creature. This is very good in the deck because this single-handedly combos with Rooftop Storm because you can pay 0 mana for it. So you pay 0 put it onto the battlefield, and then you can go infinite as long as you just don't complete the Tomb of Annihilation. So you can keep on going through, I think the one that kills your opponents, I think it's called Fan Delver. And you can just keep on making all of your opponents lose 1 life, and then that's just a 2-card combo that wins the game. We also have Master of Death, which is a new one from Modern Horizons. 3 mana for a 3/1. When it enters the battlefield, you surveil 2. And then at the beginning of your upkeep, if Master of Death is in your graveyard, you may pay 1 life, and if you do, you return it to your hands. We also have Graveborn Muse, which is 4 mana for a 3/3. At the beginning of your upkeep, you draw X cards and lose X life, where X is the number of zombies you control. We have one of the few non-zombies right here, Havengold Runebinder, which is 4 mana for a 2/2 human. You can pay 3 mana, tap it, and exile a creature card from your graveyard. You put a 2/2 zombie token onto the battlefield, then put a +1/+1 counter on each zombie you control. We have one of our other non-zombies here, which is Gisa and Geralf. 4 mana for a 4/4. When it enters the battlefield, you mill the top 4 cards of your deck, and then during each of your turns, you may cast a zombie creature card from your graveyard. That is just 1 zombie. We also have Undead Warchief, personally one of my all-time favorite cards here as well. 4 mana for a 1/1, and it says zombie spells you play or you cast cost 1 less to cast, and zombies you control get +2/+1. Notice that does count for him, so he's technically a 3/2. This card always reminds me of when I first started playing. It was around that time period, and I loved the art to this card. I loved making casual zombie decks with it. We also have Balthor the Defiled, which is 4 mana for a 2/2 zombie. He has the ability of all minions get +1/+1. And then pay 3 black mana, remove him from the game. Each player returns all black and all red creature cards from his or her graveyard to play. Next up is Vengeful Dead, just 4 mana for a 3/2. Whenever Vengeful Dead or another zombie is put into a graveyard from play, each opponent loses 1 life. We have another new one from Modern Horizons here, is Violent Tumor, which is 4 mana for a 2/2 Death Touch. And when Violent Tumor enters the battlefield, search your library for a card and put it into your graveyard. This is a good combo with Gravecrawler, where you can put Gravecrawler in your deck so that you can try to combo off with it. Or just put other creatures into your graveyard if you're going to reanimate them. Kind of like this card right here, Grey Merchant of Asphodel, just 5 mana for a 2/4. And when he enters the battlefield, each opponent loses X life, where X is your devotion to black, and then you also gain life equal to life lost this way. So if you have 3 opponents and your devotion to black is, let's say, 5, each of those 3 opponents lose 5 life, and then you gain 15. So it is quite a swing. We also have Corpse Connoisseur, which is 5 mana for a 3/3. When he enters the battlefield, you may search your library for a creature card and put that card into your graveyard, and then shuffle. And then he also has the ability of Unearth for 4, which is return it from your graveyard to the battlefield, it gains haste, and then you exile it at the beginning of the next end step, or if it would leave the battlefield. We also have Bone Miser, which is very good in as a play right after you cast Varina. Varina at 4 and then Bone Miser at 5. He is a 4/4. Whenever you discard a creature card, you create a 2/2 black zombie. Whenever you discard a land card, you add 2 black mana to your mana pool. And whenever you discard a non-creature, non-land, you draw a card. Next up is another amass creature. We have Eternal Skylord, which is 5 mana for a 3/3. When he enters the battlefield, you amass 2, and then zombie tokens you control have flying. Next up is Scarab God, which is 5 mana for a 5/5. At the beginning of your upkeep, each opponent loses X life, and you scry X, where X is the number of zombies you control. You can pay 4 mana and exile target creature card from a graveyard. Create a token that's a copy of it, except it's a 4/4 black zombie. And when the Scarab God dies, return it to its owner's hand at the beginning of the next end step. And then also notice that that ability is any creature card, so you can exile your opponent's creatures and make copies of them, except they are also zombies. We also have God Eternal Oketra, 5 mana for a 3/6 double strike. Whenever you cast a creature spell, create a 4/4 black zombie warrior creature token with vigilance. And when God Eternal Oketra dies or is put into exile from the battlefield, you may put it into its owner's library, third from the top. This is a very, very good card. Every zombie you cast just comes with a 4/4 black zombie token with vigilance for free. Next up is Noxious Ghoul, just 5 mana for a 3/3. When Noxious Ghoul or another zombie comes into play, all non-zombie creatures get -1/-1 until end of turn. It's good for clearing out loads of like tokens, like squirrels or pests or whatever else is on the field. And then if you cast multiple zombies or have multiple zombies enter the battlefield at the same time, that ability stacks. So if you have 4 zombies enter the battlefield at the same time, all non-zombies would get -4/-4 until end of turn. We also have Corpse Harvester, just 5 mana for a 3/3. Pay 2 mana, tap it, sacrifice a creature. You search your library for a zombie card and a swamp card. Reveal them and put them into your hand, then shuffle. And notice that says a swamp card, so you can search your library for a shockland or any other card that has the swamp type. We also have Haven Golich, just 5 mana for a 4/4. And an ability of pay 1 mana, you may cast target creature card in a graveyard this turn. And when you cast that card this turn, Haven Golich gains all activated abilities of that card until end of turn. Notice that this one also says any graveyard, so you can cast your opponent's creatures just for an extra mana out of their graveyard. And if those creatures happen to have activated abilities, Haven Golich would gain those until end of turn. Alright, and then we're going to switch over to the spells. So first we have Vampiric Tutor, 1 mana instant, search your library for a card, then shuffle your deck and put that card on top of it, you lose 2 life. And in the same vein, we also have Demonic Tutor, which is 2 mana sorcery. Search your library for a card, put that card into your hands, and then shuffle. These 2 cards are good for getting your combo pieces, whether you have to get Rooftop Storm, or if you're trying to get Gravecrawler, or a Sack Outlet, or one of your Drain and Gain zombies, or even Acerak, to get him into your hands. And then if you have Rooftop Storm out, you can win the game from there. We also have Dread Horde Invasion, just 2 mana, enchantment. At the beginning of your upkeep, you lose 1 life and amass 1. And then whenever a zombie token you control with power 6 or greater attacks, it gains lifelink until end of turn. This is good with all like the lords in the deck and all the amassing. You can definitely get some zombie tokens that have power 6 or greater. And then when those zombies start attacking, you'll gain a lot of life. We also have Lazotep Plating, just 2 mana instant, amass 1, and then you and permanents you control gain hexproof until end of turn. So this is good for saving yourself from somebody's combo, or you can give yourself hexproof, or for protecting one of your permanents. And then it also just comes attached with a free 1/1 zombie token. Next up is Fierce Guardianship, which is 3 mana instant. If you control a commander, you may cast this spell without paying its mana cost, and then counter target non-creature spell. So this is basically a free negate. It's good for stopping board wipes, or for stopping if someone's trying to kill your commander. Timoret Calls the Dead, just 3 mana enchantment saga. Chapters 1 and 2 are both put the top 3 cards of your deck into your graveyard. Then you may exile a creature or enchantment card from your graveyard. If you do, you create a 2/2 black zombie token. And then the final chapter is you gain X life and scry X, where X is the number of zombies you control. We also have Rise of the Dreadmarn, which is 3 mana. It has Foretell for 1 black mana. And then you would also have to pay 2 colorless to foretell it. And then you get to create X 2/2 black zombie berserker tokens, where X is the number of non-token creatures that died this turn. And notice that says not you control. So if there's a board wipe and your opponents have some creatures that die and you have some creatures that die, as long as any of those are non-tokens and you foretell this, you get that many tokens equal to the number of creatures that died. We also have Dam, which is 2 mana sorcery, destroy target creature. and then it can't be regenerated, and then it has an overload cost of 4, which would just say destroy all creatures. And we have Damnation, just 4 mana, destroy all creatures, they can't be regenerated. 2 of my favorite cards right there. We have Vindicate, which is 3 mana for a sorcery. It simply says destroy target permanents, and that is any permanent. So this can destroy lands. If someone has some crazy land out there, like a Gaia's Cradle or a Maze of Ith that's stopping you from attacking, anything like that. We also have Utter End, which is 4 mana instant, and it just says exile target non-land permanent. We have Call to the Grave, which is 5 mana enchantment. At the beginning of each player's upkeep, that player sacrifices a non-zombie, and then at the beginning of the end step, if there are no creatures on the battlefield, you have to sacrifice Call to the Grave. Liliana Death Majesty, which is 5 mana for a Planeswalker, starts at 5 loyalty. Her +1 is create a 2/2 black zombie creature token. Then you put the top 2 cards of your library into your graveyard. And then -3 is return target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. That creature is a zombie in addition to its other colors and types. And -7 is destroy all non-zombie creatures. So very flavorful, and definitely on theme there. We also have Liliana Untouched by Death, which is 4 mana, starting loyalty of 4. +1 is put the top 3 cards of your deck into your graveyard. If at least one of them is a zombie card, each opponent loses 2 life and you gain 2 life. -2 is target creature gets -X until end of turn, where X is the number of zombies you control. And her -3 is you may cast zombie cards from your graveyard this turn. That part right there is can be used as some part of different combos in the deck, where you can cast any number of zombie cards from your graveyard this turn. And the biggest combo piece of them all is Rooftop Storm. 6 mana enchantment. You may pay 0 rather than pay the mana cost for zombie creature spells you cast. We also have Liliana's Mastery. 5 mana. Zombie creatures you control get +1/+1. And when Liliana's Mastery enters the battlefield, you create 2 2/2 zombie tokens. And then next up, we have some of our mass reanimation stuff. So first we have Zombie Apocalypse, which is 6 mana. Return all zombie creature cards from your graveyard to the battlefield, so then you destroy all humans. Love the art on this card, love the flavor, fits really well in the deck. Next up, we have Patriarch's Bidding, which is 5 mana. Each player chooses a creature type. Each player returns all creature cards of the type chosen this way from their graveyard to the battlefield. I was waiting for this to get reprinted because it was a little bit expensive. So I was happy to see that in Modern Horizons 2. We also have Haunting Voyage, which is 6 mana. Choose a creature type. Return up to 2 creature cards of that type from your graveyard to the battlefield. But if this spell was foretold, instead you return all creature cards of that type from your graveyard to the battlefield instead, and the foretell cost is 7 plus the 2 mana to foretell it in the first place. These cards are really good in the deck for all the milling, self-milling, and discarding that you do from your commander. Plus, if there's any board wipes, your creatures are constantly dying, and then your mass reanimation effects are really good. We also have Phrexian Alter, which is 3 mana. Sacrifice a creature, add 1 mana of any color to your mana pool. This is part of your combo with Gravecrawler, where you can sacrifice Gravecrawler and keep on recasting it. So you sacrifice Gravecrawler, you add a black mana to your mana pool, then you use that black mana to cast Gravecrawler. And if you just have any other zombie that has a drain effect on it, which there was quite a bit of in this deck, that would kill the whole table. We also have Soul Ring. We have a Talisman of Dominance, which adds a blue or black to your mana pool. We have an Orzhov Signet, which adds a white or black to your mana pool. And then we also have an Azoria Signet, which adds a white or blue to your mana pool. And that's the whole main deck there. And then for the mana base, I'm not going to go over it too much, but the mana base in this deck is mostly fetches and shocks, and then there are some like tri-lands in there. There's also some check lands. There's decent utility land in Vault of the Archangel. There's some pain lands, and then of course a good amount of swamps. Mana base, you know, I'll leave that up to you guys. If you have a lot of money and have some good cards, you can do dual lands, of course. If you're in like the middle, you can do shocks or fetches, and if you're more on the budget side, you can do a lot of check lands or battle lands or pathways, anything like that, which are all good cards. Even some tap lands like the gain life lands. Alright, and that's the deck. So let me know what you guys think of it. Like I said, I really like this deck. I love playing zombies. The commander is very, very good with some really good abilities. It has a lot of staying power, where you can reanimate your whole graveyard or use your graveyard as a resource to keep on making more creatures. So give the video a like. You know, make sure to subscribe as well. Like I said, I'm trying to grow the channel, try to do some more deck tech videos. I got some box openings coming up. Alright, everybody, have fun. See ya.